What do you know about trees? Let's learn about trees, the indigenous ones with Mr. Evans Wasolo, who is a botanist.
My name is Evans Muhebi Wasolo. I am a teacher by profession. In starting trees, I enjoy most from getting the oxygen that gets from the plants that makes me to think big as a scientist, and at the same time, the trees provide me with the shade that makes me feel comfortable. As a teacher of biology, they also make the home look like a biological home of a teacher. Another thing is that these trees provide me with some fruits, medicine, other products that make me feel as a great botanist.
Many people are unaware of the medicinal value and income generating capacity of some indigenous tree, but Wasolo studied and started planning to make them continue to exist.
Another thing, trees also give an impact, an impression of posterity for other future generations. Trees, I also enjoy that kind of beauty. They beautify my compound so that they brighten my senses.
Most of the tree species which evolved in Kenya and East Africa region fix nitrogen, while others produce high-quality mulch which enriches the soil.
Is Ficus socomoros. It is this tree that we call it Ficus socomoros as a scientific name. The Vukusu name, it is called Kumuhuyu. There is some other cultural meaning attached to this particular Kumuhuyu. The Vukusu saying goes that Kumuhuyu kwasinya enjusi, meaning that this particular tree gives a warning that people should not offer it. And the same, this tree called Kumuhuyu, it is believed that when it is planted in the homestead, it provides peace. So, in other words, it is a sacred tree. Above all, it is very good in enriching the soil fertility. It conserves the soil moisture. It provides forage for bees. It provides fodder for the livestock growing. It provides very good shade. This tree also very good for timber conversion. I love this Kumukuyu because it is the only tree that Vukusus attach importance. That without any other indigenous tree, it is this one which is a peacemaker. So I, as a Vukusu, I respect the African culture that makes me a distinguished Vukusu by respecting the Vukusu tradition that is friendly to the climate. This particular Kumukuyu is very, very important and very friendly in mitigating the climate change. And this idea of climate change is now a worldwide problem. And we must have this culture of planting this particular indigenous tree called the Kumukuyu because it is very cheap. And it is one of the rare tree species that was exploited. But through my efforts, I've come to revive this particular endangered tree species that are very, very important when it comes to mitigating the climate change. Africa, south of Sahara, it is a place that is actually stricken with climate. It's experiencing prolonged drought that is impacting us negatively in terms of carrying out protective agriculture. This particular tree is called the Elcon teak. It originated from the Mount Elcon, and I just gotten it from there, and I planted it here on my farm. But actually, we don't have the Vukusu name, so we just actually gave the name from the place where it was originated. This particular tree, there are examples of rare species, but in terms of its uses, its products are very useful in making the most high quality timber in the world. Its timber is very durable and very much resistant to drought and diseases. Any material that is made up of the elk teak, like towers or chairs, they are very heavy and very durable. It is a very wonderful tree. If we can grow these particular trees, actually it is just as good as gold. Let us grow this particular elk teak for the purpose of providing quality timber for constructions. Let us go in for the elk teak. And this elk teak, actually, if they are well cared and well spaced, though they take time to grow, they provide the best timber can be used even to make even the chassis of various vehicles. This particular timber is the best. There is no timber in Africa south of Sahara, not of Limpopo, that provides the highest quality timber more than the elk teak. Elk teak is the best. Let us grow them. So this tree is called Milesia excellencia as a scientific name. In Kikusu, we call it Kumurumba. This tree has a lot of importance. One, it has very broad leaves. And being broad leaves, it provides a large surface area for absorption of maximum sunlight necessary for photosynthesis. And therefore, they also have big-sized stomata to provide large surface area for efficient absorption of the carbon dioxide, which is necessary for photosynthesis. At the same time, in terms of ecological and also in climate change, these particular trees are very ideal in mitigating the climate change. And if we can plant such kind of trees in our country, we are going to mitigate the climate change. This same tree called Kumurumba in Kibukusu, it has some cultural meaning. One, it is considered to be a sacred tree, a tree that brings peace in the homestead. And at the same time, this tree, it is believed that no animal can climb it. Wanasema kumurumba sekunini hatawe. Wali kakuninile keha lomurwe maskaka mwenda. This is the type of tree. It is called sekunini hata because it is very slippery and it grows very tall without any tapering. And at the same time, its products, they believe that it provides a love charm. That when you take part of its parts and you put it in your pocket, it gives a love charm that your partner will never run away. So this particular kumurumba is a very wonderful African tree that cannot be underscored. I advise our Kenyan people to grow this particular wonderful tree called kumurumba. Kumurumba ze kunina hatawe. Let us be patriotic about our own African culture that is very quality that makes us as unique people in the world. I'm thinking like a scientist because of this indigenous tree like kumurumba. It makes me to think like Isaac Newton. I'm now discovering the new law that is affecting the human life, where we are really inhaling contaminated air, causing the spread of respiratory diseases that is rampant globally. So to purify this particular environment, we need to embrace and plant more of these indigenous trees that are very much friendly to this particular climate. This tree is called Acacia polycata. In Kibukusu, it is called kumukokwe. This tree, it grows and its bark contains some kind of sharp thorns. This particular tree, when it is planted in the homestead, it really chases away. It chases away parts, like the so-called the forager. They don't like this particular tree when it is planted in the homestead because of bearing those particular thorns. But it attracts parts like the weaver parts. They like sheltering under this particular tree called kumukokwe. This kumukokwe is also very useful in terms of making charcoal. Even when you want to make the ox yoke, the so-called ichoki, it's made out of this particular kumukokwe. This kumukokwe, it is also medicinal, that its roots, it is actually chewed or is prepared to treat the general elements. In Kibukusu, we call it, it is used to treat the so-called endwasi. So this kumukokwe is a very fast growing trees and they spread very fast. Its seeds are actually spread by explosive mechanisms. When it is grown in a place and it grows into maturity, it will bear fruits and it will scatter those seeds and will develop, they will germinate into so many of this particular chemical kwe when it's planted on the farm. And they are very fast growing and are very effective when you plant them in lowlands or along the river. We advocate them to be sited to grow along the river. This tree is called the Mahemia dutia, the scientific name. The Bukusu name, we call it Kumusola. This is one of the indigenous trees that is regarded with a lot of importance according to the Bukusus. They believe that when Kumusola or when Kimisola is planted in the homestead, they provide peace. According to the Bukusus, Kumusola is like an advocate. That they advocate or they support you when you plant them in your homestead. That even when people, they have bad feelings about you, this particular tree will cleanse. It just cleanses. Such that when people come to your home, they just become very good and humble people. Those with bad intention, it cleanses. So this kumusola is very wonderful because it provides construction material, very convenient, that our old parents used to use these particular trees for constructing the African shrine, the synagogue. They were using these particular branches of these particular trees in constructing Namuima. They used this one. This tree is called Alopecia coraria. That is the scientific name. The vernacular name, it is called kumupeli. It is one of the indigenous trees that play a very important role in terms of climate mitigation. Apart from that, it is also very helpful in ripening of bananas. Its leaves are used to act as ethylene, so that when it is put in the bananas, they serve as a natural ethylene that induces ripening of bananas in a natural form. This particular tree, it is also very useful in terms of providing one of the high quality timber that is resistant to pests and diseases. When I sell them, they give me or they fetch me high prices because of the kind of the natural flavor this particular tree provides to the bananas that I prepare for ripening. At the same time, this particular kumupeli, it really beautifies my compound. At the same time, this particular tree, it provides forage to my peas. When it flowers, its flowers or their flowers are very bright. They attract bees to collect nectar for making of the honey. I'm able to produce high quality honey because of this particular indigenous trees. Of this particular tree is called Croton macrostachys. That is the scientific name. The vernacular name is called kumutoto. These are some of the indigenous trees among the Kusu community, and they are really becoming rare. But there are examples of what we call epiphytus plants, plants that grow on the stems on old trees that have cracked or have developed some holes. They actually germinate from such kind of old trees that have cracked and developed some holes. They easily get established in such kind of old trees. And this particular tree is important in terms of making charcoal, and it also provides some kind of timber. When it is mature, it can provide very quality or durable timber can be gotten from this type of tree called kumutoto. Here, Kuri trichikabar. It is called Kuri trichikapa. The Bukusu name, it is called kumusitati. This particular tree, it is a very important tree, especially during traditional initiations. The elders or the counselors, they use a stick of this particular tree in placing the initiates into manhood. They will give that particular initiate anamupatia this particular stick when they are placing that particular child. This tree is also, in Kibukusu, it means toughness. As they give you this particular stick during initiation or placings, it means they are encouraging you. Like if you are a boy, after being circumcised, you need to be very courageous. You need to defend that now you are a natal. You need to defend your people from the enemies. And good symbol that we give to our children or elders or counselors use to place it comes from this particular kumustati. And once this particular kumustati is grown in the homestead, it enhances stability and toughness of that particular home. This particular tree is called Ficus sa. In Kibukusu, it is called Kumukuyu Kwanandere. Kumukuyu Kwanandere kuno, it bears some fruits. And these fruits, when they are ripe, they normally attract multiple parts. At the same time, the sap from this particular tree is used to trap bats. So this particular Nandere tree, it has also medicinal uses. It is barks. The barks and also the roots are crushed to prepare a connotation to treat general diseases, the so-called endwas. So this particular tree, it almost related to Ficus socomoros. And it is also has some cultural beliefs associated with this particular Nandere. That this particular Nandere tree, when you plant in the homestead, it also protects the home. This particular Nandere, it is a very unique tree in the sense that it also repels away people with evil intentions. The name of this tree is Sisyphus absinica. Sisyphus absinica, that is the scientific name of this particular tree. In a Kibukusu name, or vernacular name, it is called Kumbukomboti. This particular tree is not so much easily planted in the homestead. But it is one of the indigenous trees that is very hardy. But the Kusus, they believe that in any case, somebody steals your livestock and you use these particular branches and following the footprints of your stolen livestock, then whoever stole those particular livestock hataenda mbali, utamupata tu. So we use these particular trees as a way of protecting your livestock from theft. This kumkombot. Its products can also be used in making the ox yoke, making the stool. The traditional stool can also be made out of this. We can also make the ox cart from this particular product. It's called Cooperatum pentaranium. In Kibukusu, it is called Kumulaa. This tree is one of the indigenous trees that is so much popularly grown by the Bukusu people. This particular tree, its branches are used also in constructing of the synagogue. Its branches were used to serve for roasting meat. They believe that the fluid from this particular tree is also used in treating of this mashilingi, the ringworms. And at the same time, this particular kumulaa, when it is planted in the homestead, it actually serves as a peacemaker, and at the same time, it protects the owner of the homestead. Alafu wanasema, when it is also in the compound, it welcomes visitors.
According to Mr. Wasolo, indigenous trees has been almost wiped out As no one plants them, he says it's sad to see 400-year-old species being cut down. Wasolo says planting of indigenous trees is a collaborative program on reducing emission from deforestation.
Actually growing these particular indigenous trees is actually these particular trees. They make use of the carbon dioxide during the process of photosynthesis. And therefore, as these particular trees utilize this carbon dioxide, it means that the carbon dioxide will not now rise in the atmosphere. Instead, it will be contained by these particular trees during the process of photosynthesis. And in so doing, they are now lessening the emission of this particular carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And therefore, in so doing, we shall be lessening the carbon emission. And once the carbon emission has been actually been lessened, it actually now reduces the depletion of the ozone layer, therefore mitigating the climate change. On the same note, these indigenous trees, such as Milesia excelsa, the so-called kumurumba, when you look at their leaf surface, they have broad leaf surface. And that broad leaf surface actually absorb maximum sunlight, and therefore they also contain big-sized stomata that actually increase or provide a large surface for absorption of the carbon dioxide, therefore increasing the carbon stock within the tree, thus reducing the raising of the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And in so doing, these particular plants, they will actually transpire. They carry out transpiration. And as they carry out transpiration, that particular water vapor will now rise in the atmosphere and contains forming clouds. And these clouds will eventually form rain. And that's how these particular trees are actually mitigating the climate change. In terms of maintaining the fence, it becomes very hard. Even the neighbors at times they encroach it, and that's why it gets fallen like this. So some troppers will remove them. Also, the dark liquid monitoring. That anything you can do well, it can only be possible if you have enough finance. When you have enough finance, you can really do so many things. In terms of maintaining, cleaning, pruning, it requires money because I'm the only human people in the world who has sacrificed my 12-acre land on growing trees. It is a very rare human being. I'm a rare human being. In fact, I'm not a human being, but I'm currently a human person with my uniqueness that makes me to become an enemy for those people who are not friendly to the climate. How I wish that the Kenyan government, the national and the county government could actually support this rare human person called Evans Wasolo to ensure that actually environment is protected at all costs, to ensure that actually our youths are engaged meaningfully. It is this environment that I've created that is ideal, stimulative, and conducive for all life forms that actually makes our children to be bright. Environment that is enriched like this one of mine is an ideal environment for any kind of life forms. And more so, this a diversified kind of environment actually creates an ideal environment for learning. And the children of this particular area, they are very lucky to get such kind of environment that is enriching, that is providing all learning resources. But however, people have not reached at that particular level to realize that this one is an important project that can actually impact the world positively. So the negative attitudes towards trees. People are having negative attitudes. They believe trees take too long. I've also been inviting the stakeholders, the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, to come and even organize some kind of workshops on climate change. But they have always let me down. So, but otherwise, the community around, they are so much benefiting from me. In terms of roots, I do give them. In terms of firewood, I give them. In terms of construction materials, I give them. In terms of even giving them honey, I do give them. Of Kenya, both the national government and the county government, I appreciate you for the kind of awareness and sensitivity you are passing to our people. And in the first place, I must also appreciate you for being one of the signatory of the International Forums on Climate Change, that Convention of the Paris. I want to say thank you so much. I am actually responding to such kind of covenants. I want to appeal to my government that I'm now implementing what you have actually agreed at the national level. I now wish to say that use me as a coacher to continue sensitizing and using my position as a teacher as well as a botanist to sensitize for people to see the need to grow these particular trees that are really friendly to the climate. Indeed, you have actually signed this Paris Agreement. And I'm supporting the President Ruto in his campaign, actually to plant billion tree campaign. I want to assure the government that I am one of the people who have committed myself to join tree campaign globally to ensure that our country attains 10% forest cover. I want to be one of the first front people to ensure that. At this particular juncture, on our piece of land, which is 8 acres, I've already attained 10% forest cover of our community here. Sasa, I sincerely say, I'm one of the people, presently the governor, who is actually supporting the government and the international covenant like sustainable development growth. I believe that the MDG goals, the Millennium Developmental Goals that were signed sometimes, where Kenya, we have to be industrialized by the year 2030. I'm really becoming one of the compliant so that by the year 2030, we are all industrialized. And I'm ready because that's why I've gone in for this particular project to ensure that we provide adequate material to actually accommodate those industrialization. I also want to say that this particular tree, I appealed to the government, the county government in particular, to have this particular forest registered so that it markets itself globally, so that we even allow the foreigners to come and see for themselves and give some technical advice on how we can maintain these particular projects. So I'm actually in agreement that let us partner up with the county government and the national government to ensure that the government obligations, the international forums that the government actually makes, let us actually implement them. I'm on the forefront to appeal the government of the day to come and see what kind of activities I'm actually engaging myself in the name of actually lessening global warming. Indeed, I have even few words to express myself, because when I talk about environment, it's my nature, because me naturally I'm a botanist, because I love nature more than anything else, because without a good nature, there is no life. Because I believe trees are life. Trees provide us with fruits. Trees provide us with oxygen. Trees lessen global warming. So, how can we survive without trees? So, in essence, all good things that we require for the human to thrive comes from environment. Thank you so much.